How many panels does it take to portray madness? How many pages to display the depravity of mankind? How many issues to show true heartbreak? How many volumes does it take to convey the pitch blackness of eternal nights? Stephen Emon answers these questions and more on Let's Make Comics, up next.
Hi, Spooky Chan.
Hi, Steve Emond.
You have a kitty to the past.
Meow, 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 meow.
We're here to talk about Kickstarter.
Yeah!
So we did a Kickstarter.
We did.
Yeah, and in the most turbulent of times. we almost had to bail on our Kickstarter because there was so much going on in the world of Kickstarter. But luckily, if you don't know, there was a whole union strike going on, like right when we were launching, like the day before.
That's
all
right.
This union stuff came up, and we had worked for months on this Kickstarter, and that was terrifying. But they did the right thing, right? The union is formed and all is well.
That's right.
Background. So some of our viewers may be interested in starting their own Kickstarters.
Correct.
Yes.
But before you do that, I want to say we were successful in our Kickstarter, and we funded our comic book first offerings from Machina Corps.
We did. You're talking about First Offerings by Machina Corps, this comic book, this real live comic that I have in my hands.
Whoa, what about that? How about... Whoa, I've got one too!
You got one? Wow. Is yours as cool as mine?
I don't know. Maybe it's cooler.
Did we pretty much just, when we were first talking about making a company, like, I'm trying to remember how we first came across, we got to do a Kickstarter. It's weird, right? Like, we knew we were going to do Machina Corps, we were going to do a company. At some point, we must have said we should do a comic for Kickstarter. I know how it was. We were thinking eventually we were going to do like graphic novels and big projects and stuff, and we wanted something to dip our toes in and get used to the idea of publishing and creating something and having it printed. So the idea of doing a Kickstarter for a comic book that we each did half of came up.
Right, and also that we wanted it to be like an annual of like offering or offerings every, not annual, I don't know, however long it takes us between books and projects and things.
What's going on over there? Your phone's bouncing around.
Yeah, because this one.
It must be dinner time. So, all right, so let's talk about making a Kickstarter for a comic book.
The thought was that we wanted to have a first offering and then a second offering and then a fourth offering, etc., etc.
Yes,
so
because the demons aren't satisfied without their offerings of comic books.
That's right. Yeah. So we decided that was going to be the first book. So we're going to specifically talk about comic books in particular.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, we were trying to think back on the process for this whole thing. There was a lot that we had to kind of learn on the fly, which is why we wanted to do the Kickstarter in the first place, so we could familiarize ourselves. We spent some time looking at successful Kickstarter comics, unsuccessful ones, watching their videos.
That's painful.
Yeah. Some of them were like clever and had a lot of work put into them. Some of them, for somebody that's asking for money, they put no effort in, like, at all. They'd be like sitting there in their underwear with their shirt on and the air conditioner going, like, this is my comic book, it's blah blah blah. Like, other ones would just be a trailer of art with some music. we went like probably overboard, but we wanted to show our personality and be clever. I had hopes that, we could do something that would maybe go viral, that like people would be forced to pay attention to. So we
Right.
did like really over the top video and editing and lighting and all kinds of stuff.
Right. Which poor Steve had to learn that Chan has zero memory and has a goldfish memory for remembering lines.
Yeah. Yeah, we were sitting there in that basement with mice going by and bugs, and it was like 90 degrees, and I had like a suit jacket on. It wasn't the best of times, but we got through it.
We did, and I think our video came out really well
The
too.
video was awesome, yeah. So we did the video. We did a ton of graphics because we wanted the page to look really good.
We wanted to have that personal touch to it, for every header of like, why are we doing this? What are the goals? What are the stretch goals? What are the incentives? Like, there'd be another piece of artwork that would show a little bit of our personality and what the project was,
Yeah.
essentially. In the video, if no one hasn't seen it, or some of you haven't seen it, we pretty much take you into a basement and tell you all about what we're about ready to do. And there are fake ghosts and a skeleton rat.
Well, my original pitch was even more ambitious because I wanted to get like friends of ours in the comic industry to make like little video cameos that would be edited in, and it was just too much work and we felt awkward about it. But like I really wanted to do something that would just be this like really grand statement, like something that you would have to take notice of and be like, oh my God, they got like this person and that person,
Right.
and they have all this. This is hilarious and this is really clever, and I'm interested. Like, I knew we were going to have good art and we had good projects going on, and I just wanted the presentation to be as good as it could possibly be. It sucks a little bit because you don't even know how many people ever watch that. I think it's probably a small amount for all the work that we put into it. I think it's just it was it was our debut as a company, so I didn't want to just be like, hey guys, this is our new Machina Corps thing. We're doing a comic book. Support us. We wanted to reveal ourselves in a really clever way that spoke to our sensibilities.
So another thing is that we had music and we had pretty decent sound for most of it, and you also did subtitles for it, so anybody who was hearing impaired could follow along. Mm-hmm. In other videos, like for me, these were unsuccessful videos. They would just like try a concept and you couldn't hear what was going on, and like really bad special effects. Like, they tried, but they didn't try hard enough. Like, it just came off as almost lazy and
yeah.
And then other things of like you said, just like sitting in your apartment and saying a bunch of things and not being enthused really doesn't do it.
You want to have that energy and you want to be engaging. Although, honestly, when we first started this whole thing and we were going on Kickstarter, I imagined something far different than what we experienced. I thought that Kickstarter just had this market of people that would go to Kickstarter.com and see what kind of things were going on, and people just checked out what new comics are on Kickstarter. And I thought if we had a great video and we stood out and we got recommended by Kickstarter, all these people would see it, and we'd get like...
Which we did, by the way.
We did, yeah, we'll get to that. We did get like a Project We Love thing, which is great because it did look better than 90% of the stuff on there. But I thought all these people like would find us through just doing a Kickstarter, like people that didn't know you, that didn't know me, they were Kickstarter people, and they would find our project and see how much work we did and see that it was recommended. And we'd get all these, we were worried how many international people are going to find it. And, are we going to have to really prepare for a whole bunch of things to ship over there? But I'd say almost everything was our existing audience.
Yes.
So we got Neil Gaiman. What is it?
Gaiman.
Go ahead.
Gaiman, I don't know.
Gaiman. All right. We had Neil Gaiman retweet us when he was in the middle of like anti-Kickstarter because of the union stuff. We told him everything we were doing to support the union and stuff, and he actually retweeted us. So we got that. We got on all these different horror websites. We got on these comic book websites. So we got publicity, and we did like press releases. We were writing press releases and sending them out there. We were doing Corpsetober for the month of October instead of Inktober. We were doing all these horror things and hashtags. We did everything we possibly could, and I still think 100% of the people that backed it already knew either Chan or myself, mostly Chan.
Right. Well, the thing is, like, even though we did all that work and we kept on having a daily, like, piece of artwork and, like, always, like, doing the dailies of, like...
We were doing comic strips.
Right.
We worked our asses off for that month.
So what I want to say about that is that even though the audience might have come mostly from me, we still needed to reach them.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, like we were talking before in the previous video, you can check it out, about social media. Algorithms are a pain in the butt. Not every time people will see you. Like if you post a link, no one will see the link because the algorithm varies it a little bit more.
Yeah, so you think like, oh my God, I'm being obnoxious, I'm posting this over and over. And the one person who likes and comments on everything you do is seeing that 4 or 5 times, but you're probably reaching a few people you didn't reach on the other ones, and certain people are only seeing it once for sure.
The other problem is they also, like, if you do certain hashtags like Kickstarter, they also mute those and kind of put it down in the algorithm, like, line.
It's so difficult.
I mean, like, it's really hard. Even putting the word Kickstarter in your tweet can also make the algorithm go like, nope.
Right, because Twitter wants you on Twitter. They don't want you on Kickstarter. They don't want you on Instagram, and Instagram doesn't want you on Twitter. So, like, when you mention these other sites...
Facebook is notorious for never showing your content if you put a link to something.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, this is what we were up against by trying to find other creative solutions. By, like, our Corpsetober, like, every day we're drawing a picture that relates to the topics we made. And we're constantly doing something. We're posting, we're talking about our Kickstarter, and, like, it's just on and on and on and on. But it all worked.
A lot of the advice we got, before we get to that, let's recap the things we did. We made the videos. We made all the graphics. We made sure our page looked great. We actually launched at a time that we were supposed to be. They said you had until September 30th to launch to be part of their small press initiative. And it turns out the initiative was until September 30th. So we launched on the day that it ended. Like, I thought it would go for the next month or whatever. But we did that. We wrote press releases. We reached out to a long list we had found of contacts at horror magazines and internet sites, comic book sites, anything that was to do with us.
We were also in the month of October, which bodes well for our theme.
Yeah, we did some comic strips, meme type stuff, just posting constantly. And we reached out to industry friends of ours to ask people to help retweet. So we did like everything we could to do this right. And so one of the advice that we were given was that it's going to start with a bang and it's going to end with a bang. And the middle is the lull. So sure enough, so our goal, we did a lot of work trying to figure out how much it's going to cost to print, how much it's going to cost to, ship was the big thing. That was really complicated. I don't know
It's
that we ever nailed it, but it was so hard to understand.
We're going to find out.
We still haven't found it. We haven't shipped yet. So we'll find out if we have enough money left over. We had to figure out taxes, what we were going to get taxed, and nobody will give you any information on that. So you kind of have to guesstimate that. It was a lot to figure out, but we came up with this 6,200 or something, 6,200, and we overdid, right?
Yeah.
So that was our goal. First day or two, we got like 2,000, right? Something around there.
I can't even remember. It was a nice amount.
Right off the bat, yeah, there were like, but that's because like all of the like big time Spooky Chan fans all came out to support right away. Like everybody's super excited. We had drummed up all this excitement, and it's like, wow, if like in a day we make like 1,200 and the next day we make another 1,000, like we still got 30 days. We got this made. But then sure enough, it slows. And like, oh, today we made $20 and the next day we made $0. And I remember being very nervous, being like, we gotta market harder, we gotta push harder, because if we're making $20 a day, we're never gonna get the next 4,000 that we need. And people would say, that's a great start. The last day everybody's gonna come in.
And that didn't exactly happen for us, because I think we made our goal before the last day. It was like 2 to 3 days before that, and therefore we just kind of got a trickle of people coming in at the last second, but we didn't have that big hurrah like they always talk about.
That's true, we didn't. Yeah, it was kind of there was a lull where almost nothing happened. Then we started to get a few kind of bigger ticket, people wanted to get original art or paintings, the Corpse-tober illustrations, I was selling those, and a few people wanted those. So we were trying to figure out the big price things, because in those first days, like all those, like, get the original art, get it yourself drawn into the book, those things went like that, and we were mostly selling the lower scale tier things, and we were trying to figure out more things that people could buy for $100 or $200, trying to add more of those in. It was definitely very nerve-wracking, but we were slowly getting there. And I think, one day we did like the last 1,000 or something, and then, in the last 3 or 4 days we did another 1,000, so we got to like 7,200 in the end.
Right.
So that start and end thing and the lull in the middle was definitely true. God, I don't miss it. That was a lot of work.
Oh my God, we need to start working on the next one.
I know, yeah. We're definitely going to do another one for our next project, and we learned a lot doing that one, and it gives you some comfort, and kind of what to expect. Like, okay, that's true. You're probably going to do pretty good the first day or two. It's going to be a long slog of shilling constantly through the middle. Do as much press release and marketing as you can.
Right.
I still think, it helped to have those things to talk about, to link to have some credibility towards the project.
Right. And also, I think like what we had was a good product, and I think we had a very obtainable goal. We didn't go too high, like a lot of people like aim either too high or way too low.
It's weird, like when you think for like a 24-page comic or 32-page comic we did, you think like for just like a comic book, it's like, oh, we can't ask people for $5 for a comic or $10, and like, why would it cost $7,000 just to print and ship this one comic book? Like, I don't know, in my head, those seemed like astronomical numbers, but they kind of, I guess it was pretty much just right. I think we're going to pretty much cut even. We were able to get a logo, we were able to do a few extra little things for the company, but we have like enough money left probably for shipping, and I think we budgeted just about right. We definitely didn't get rich off of our 32-page comic.
Nope.
There's a part of me that wonders if we had asked for $8,000 and would we have still gotten exactly what we got, the 7,200, or would more people have bid or bid more to help us get to that goal?
I don't know. I think what we were asking for was absolutely like on the nose, like perfect. If we had asked for anything more, we might have been dealing with a unsuccessful Kickstarter, to be honest.
Yeah, it was I was afraid to even price it at the 6,200 because I just remember thinking like I'd rather price it lower and be successful than price it high to a point that we don't get to. But in
But
retrospect, if we had priced it any lower, we wouldn't have been able to afford to do everything. We'd be
right,
paying
we
for
could
it.
we couldn't have done a lot of the things that we did to make the company happen in the first place.
Yeah.
And also like from printing and other like things, like it just would it. That's the problem. Like most people underdo it, and then they create more problems for themselves. And the idea is the Kickstarter is supposed to fund the things to make it happen.
Yeah, so this was something that we talked a lot about working on the Kickstarter was the idea of is every penny supposed to go directly to the comic, or is it okay to say, listen, I'm making this and I want to have some money to live off of while I'm working on this? Like, I feel like I should be paid for my work. Like, there was this weird comics mentality with Kickstarter that you shouldn't actually pocket any money. Like, everything should go towards, it's like, we're working. Like, you do a comic book for a company, you expect to get paid for it, right?
Well, here's the weird part is if like some companies do it and some writers do it, they get money so they can pay their artists, and they are upfront about that.
Yeah.
But they're not making any money because they're the one who started it.
Everybody should get paid.
I'm fully in agreement, but of course, like we only had like a little bit of money here and there,
Yeah.
and might have went to rent one time.
That's true. That's true. We did pay for Chan's rent one month. But it's like
Chan broke, kids. Chan broke.
link to Chan's coffee account in the description.
PayPal.me/Chandra free.
What was I gonna say before all of this senseless plugging? I lost my train of thought.
You said that we should get paid via
Yeah.
Kickstarter.
I think so like one of the things is how do you structure a Kickstarter that you're actually getting paid and pocketing money instead of all of it going towards shipping. And one of the ways would be to be like, okay, I'm doing a digital thing. I'm creating a comic book. I'm going to send you the PDF to it. That doesn't really cost it. You don't have the shipping costs. You don't have the printing costs.
Right.
You're just making it and giving it to them. And the money that you get is money that you're just getting, except we're a comics publisher and we want to make nice looking books and we want to make graphic novels that look beautiful and they're going to cost a lot of money to make.
Yeah, and they will, and that's going to be our next goal is an actual graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
That's scary.
Yeah, so
I mean, we're going to be doing the God Machine coming up in fall. If everything goes right, I mean, virus might have some other plans, but we'll find out.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. Regardless, work continues. So, in recap, Kickstarter, a lot of work, very hard to position it in a way that you're getting paid for all the work.
Right.
But
Also,
I mean, you know, we were starting a company. We wanted to make a comic book. We want to build our fans and following and all that stuff. So
didn't we started our journey for our Kickstarter probably in April or May?
yeah. So we first talked about it in April. I think by June we were like really figured out what we were going to do. At the point we were each doing little preludes to larger graphic novels. You were going to do the
Lonely BK.
Lonely BK as a full graphic novel, but once you got the rights back to God Machine, that kind of changed. So it
Yeah.
became a kind of one-off story. But yeah, working on the comic and figuring out what first offerings was going to be, that was kind of early summer. By August, the Halloween stores opened and we could get toys to make our video with. September was lots of editing and doing the final graphics for the Kickstarter, launched the very end of September. So it really kind of that encompassed that entire summer last year.
Yeah. I guess kind of like spring into summer.
Yeah, we should really get ourselves going on this Con Machine Kickstarter.
Yes, actually, that would be really fantastic.
Yeah.
Just need to make the website and then we can start doing other things.
That's right. We just got to get that Have Heart website, haveheartcomic.com.
That will eventually turn into another graphic novel Kickstarter project.
Yeah, and possibly Patreon, which could be its own video, but it'd be a short one. but I'm thinking of maybe, like I was talking about with the PDF thing, I'm thinking about releasing like installments as a PDF through Patreon, and then eventually doing a big published thing. Because I would definitely love to have. I mean, when you do a large amount of comics and comic pages, like the dream is to have it in a nice book, right? That's the comic stream.
There's something kind of nice about it. It's a collector's item. It's something tangible.
For sure.
I mean, limited edition type stuff. For sure.
All right, everybody.
Kickstarter is really hard. It is a lot of work. It's also mentally draining.
Yeah. Do we recommend it? I mean, it's kind of, that's, what do we do before Kickstarter? You'd have to work with distribution, and it's a godsend in a lot of ways.
What we'd actually deal with, we would have to take out loans. Get credit cards and all sorts of things to start like getting our books out there and getting it to people through those means, and that's a big gamble. This tells us directly that people want the product and will get the product, and the extra people outside of the people who kickstarted the project will also get to own it.
Yeah.
That's actually the benefit of all of this, because it's not a high risk business model.
Yeah, definitely.
And it also creates community. We did get a bunch of new fans out of this. There were new people, and I mean, like, it's just I think it connects people to what you're doing, rather than like, oh, put an ad through Diamond, put an ad here, get some reviews here. Like that's nice and all. And I mean, we'll have to do that anyways. But this actually has more of a direct connection.
Yeah, and another thing is everybody that ever basically expressed interest in it as part of the Kickstarter, if we post an update on there, which people do, when they have a new project coming out, they post an update on their old Kickstarter, because it sends out you essentially create a mailing list, which we should do for Have Heart when it's ready to go.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Post an update there to make sure everybody that was interested in first offerings knows that there's a new Machina Corps webcomic coming out.
Right. So we can do a big update coming up.
Yeah, so it's a lot of work, but it's a really amazing thing that it exists. And for an indie publisher or somebody starting up in comics that wants to prove themselves and put their idea out there, like, man, it really low risk. I mean, the worst case scenario, you don't fund it, but at least you're not spending thousands of dollars to find out that it just doesn't work or whatever.
And there are good people over at Kickstarter that will work with you in the comics department. Some really good people.
Yep.
Very proud that they unionize. Yes.
That's right.
Good team.
All right, so that's all we have to say about Kickstarter, and this has been Chan Month, the month of May 2020, and this final week of May, quarantine's over, yay! No
Don't
more.
tell them that.
All right, we're recording this. It's not even close to the end of May, and we have no idea what the world is like right now.
It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Nostradamus.
How many people were watching our YouTube video and just pressed stop and ran outside in joy? What good news! Thanks,
That's on
Machina
you.
Corpse.
That's on you.
That's on me. All right, everybody. See you next week.
Machina Corp does not endorse Steve.
I am Machina Corpse.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe.
That's right.
If you like our comic, get a pull box and your local comic shop will make sure you never miss an issue. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button. Till next time, friends.